the older I'm getting, the closer you're getting, I definitely feel like the mentality needs to flip, instead of, okay, I need to climb some levels or I need to just survive a year. I think it definitely needs to flip into, okay, how am I going to be a big leaguer?
Welcome to episode 367 of Alberta Dugout Stories, the podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We are heading to the minors again in just a couple of minutes for a pair of great conversations with Matt Coutney and Thomas Ireland. But first, the news headlines. And we'll start with the road to Okotoks, which continues to garner steam as teams are starting to share their interest in taking part in regionals. Baseball Canada is also putting out some social media content with some big leaguers and others to show their excitement for this summer's inaugural event.
What is the road to Okotoks?
The road to Okotoks brings together, what we feel is the best of, private baseball, travel baseball. They finally get to go head to head.
To have an opportunity to play on a national level means the world to you when you're a kid.
If I could go back in time and did it all over again, I would have killed to have this opportunity.
I think it's just a wonderful opportunity to kind of showcase your skills against the best competition we have in the country.
Everyone talking about having the best program and being the best and players wanting to get into that best on best environment. We've got it now.
The Morneau Cup Championship goes down in Okotoks July 14th to 19th, and tickets are still available. Speaking of Okotoks, not only is Siemens Stadium adding a new section of seating, but their training facilities are also getting an upgrade. The expansion to the Duvernay Fieldhouse is coming together nicely. Go to the Dogs' social media posts for more on that. Also on the upgrading facilities front, Vauxhall Academy's 20th season is turning into a big one as they broke ground over the fall on a new 12,000 square foot multi-purpose field house. It's right behind right field at Jet Stadium. You can check out the Vauxhall socials for some of the photos and videos on that. We are a week away from learning who will make up the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum's class of 2026. The announcement is expected next Thursday in St. Mary's, Ontario. Just like last year, we'll provide full coverage for dugout stories in both provinces and potentially a special edition of the show following the media available with inductees, so keep it locked on your socials next week for all the details as they come in. Also next week, we should be finding out about Canada's roster for the 2026 World Baseball Classic. We know Michael Soroka has said he's in if he gets the call, while Eric Sparowski might not be in because of workload. The final roster is due to WBC officials on Monday, so we'll keep you in the loop here on the show and on socials about the connections to Alberta and Saskatchewan. In other pro news, Dogs Academy product Tim Piazentine has been singled out as one of the Toronto Blue Jays prospects to watch in 2026. He was drafted by the team last summer and has been revered for his raw power and his good baseball instincts. Big congratulations to Okotoks alum Jordan Procession as he's moving up in the coaching world. He's been named the bench coach for the AAA Reno Aces in the Arizona Diamondbacks system. In the college baseball world, congratulations to friend of the show Carter Beck on being named the Missouri Valley Conference Preseason Player of the Year. The Saskatoon Berries All-Stars coming off a strong first season with Indiana State University, and has many wondering if he might hear his name get called in an upcoming MLB draft. On the commitment front this week, Noah Corrente of Dogs Academy is setting off to Iowa Western Community College, while teammate Victor Lefebvre will join Hutchinson Community College. There's been a few commitments to CCBC teams, including Jacob Blyle of Weber Academy, who's going to the University of Calgary, while his teammate Evan Grierson goes to Edmonton Collegiate, and Alex Cunningham of the Calgary Cubs is heading to Prairie Baseball Academy. That season gets going March 20th, and of course, we'll have our annual CCBC season preview extravaganza that week to get you all set up. Finally, if you're looking for some more baseball content to listen to in the next week, make sure to check out the Bullhorn out of Lethbridge as Ian makes an appearance this week, and Matt Betts has a great conversation with Illinois State Redbirds head coach Steve Holm about his Canadian contingent, including Eric Matchey and Peyton McCarg on the new Canadian Baseball Network podcast. On to this week's guests now, and we'll start with Wetaskiwin's Matt Coutney. He's coming off a season split between three levels of the Los Angeles Angels system, including the AA Rocket City Trash Pandas. In all, he hit .239 with 25 doubles, 15 home runs, and 53 RBI in 114 games. The St. FX grad has spent the offseason working out at St. Joe's Academy in Red Deer and is excited for the road ahead. Matt, thanks so much for joining us here on the show again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're coming off a 2025 season split between three different levels. The numbers all speak for themselves, but I want to know first, how are you feeling about the year you had?
Pretty good. Every year you kind of go in with a fresh slate, and you're kind of hoping to build on some stuff that you worked on in the off season. And that's definitely something that I took into this past year, was working on some stuff, and hopefully it carried over, and it did. I definitely feel like overall I had a pretty solid year. You look at your career over the years, and certain numbers analytically, and things that you do well, things you don't do well, and you try and work on everything every year. For example, I want to be able to hit the ball hard in the air, drive extra base hits, limit strikeouts, and increase walk rate. Just to give a few off the top of my head, and that's definitely something that I definitely worked on in the off season, and it definitely carried over into the season.
It's funny, the topic of conversation has already flipped to something we talked about a couple of years ago, was adjustments. Is it safe to say that that's all minor league ball is about, is making those adjustments to make sure you're going up the ladder in the right way?
100%. That's the game of baseball. In general, I definitely feel like the older you get, the more at bats that you get underneath your belt are extremely important. I'm coming up on, I think, 1,500 at bats here, and that's a lot of at bats over the last 3 or 4 years. And the player I am today, not only physically but mentally and mature wise, is completely different than when I started this whole pro ball journey. And every day that you step into the locker room, or you wake up in the morning, you kind of have a routine and a checklist that you kind of go throughout the day to make sure you're not only ready physically and mentally. And that's definitely something that you're able to learn over the years and through the experience that you gain.
Is it crazy to, when you mention the number 1,500, is it crazy to think about that number, and how proud of yourself are you, thinking that, hey, you've been able to be, for the most part, healthy and be able to grind your way through solid pro year so far?
For sure. I definitely feel like health is extremely important in pro ball. I hear it all the time. Availability is the best ability. And knock on wood, I have never landed on the IL. I've never had any major injuries. And that's something I'm extremely thankful for. And like I said earlier, that kind of comes down to how you're preparing yourself day in and day out. You got to take care of your body, not only when you're at the field, but when you're away, how you feel it, how much you're sleeping, your hydration, all that kind of stuff. And I definitely feel like that is extremely important. And the older you get, you start to understand what you need and what you don't need.
Mm-hmm. Looking back, I mean, you've been able to go, you went through 3 different levels this past year, but you've been able to see minor league ball at a bunch of different stages here. What's maybe the biggest difference you notice when you go from level to level?
I definitely think obviously the competition jumps every level. The older guys you get are more experienced, and that's definitely something that goes a long ways. I feel like as you climb the ladder, it's just is what it is. Guys get better, and you just got to answer the bell.
Looking back on the year that you had, any highlights or favorite moments that you're like, man, that was pretty cool?
I wouldn't say any favorite moments. I feel like a lot of the times that the play on the field is the play on the field. Like I said, I think I've done 4 years of professional baseball so far, and I've had countless numbers of bats and countless numbers of games I've played in. But the moments in between the games with your teammates, the staff members, go a long ways, and that's why you do it. It's a grind of the year, but having the guys around yourself and keeping things light really gets you through a year, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Coming out of the season, obviously a lot of postseason conversations, and hey, here's what you got to work on or adjust. You kind of alluded to it earlier on, but what are some of those things that you really want to work on this offseason, or that you've already been working on, to make sure you can have that same kind of success that maybe you had in Tri-City as you move up that ladder?
I definitely feel like each year or each off season is different. I can look back at every off season and say, okay, I worked on this or I worked on that. I definitely think the older I'm getting, the closer you're getting, I definitely feel like the mentality needs to flip. Instead of, okay, I need to climb some levels or I need to just survive a year. I think it definitely needs to flip into, okay, how am I going to be a big leaguer? And if I'm going to be a big leaguer, how am I going to stick? And that comes down to just understanding your skill set and maximizing that. You look at a lot of guys that make it to the big leagues. They do one or two things really well, and they know that. You hear there's five tool players out there, but there's not that many. I understand my skill set. I know what I do well, and I know what I don't do well. And being able to hone in on what I do well and kind of maximize my potential in that way is definitely going to be the way I'm going to become a big leaguer. And like I said, this offseason is definitely more of a shift in mentality in that way, I would say.
It's more on the mental side of things by the sounds of it than it is the physical, so to speak.
It's 100%. It just is what it is. You get older, you understand your body better, but the thing that needs to stay young is your mind. You got to be able to have a clean slate every day and be able to attack it with your best foot forward. And you hear a lot of guys say that they have short memories in the game. They don't let the past or their failures affect how they perform in the present. And that's definitely something that you're able to learn with just experience at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Looking ahead to the coming year, do you have any expectations or goals of yourself that you've kind of put up on the chalkboard and said, this is what I'm going to do? Or are you kind of going into it with a bit of a clean slate?
I've definitely learned to not hold yourself to expectations. This game is extremely tough. It's extremely hard. One thing I kind of learned this year was being able to, separate my play on the field to the person I am off the field. A lot of the times when you're in college or high school or starting out pro ball, you'll carry these results over into your real life. And at the end of the day, if you go 0 for 4, if you go 4 for 4, that doesn't affect the human being you are off the field. And being able to separate those two things are extremely important. Playing baseball is my job, and you talk about people who go work a 9 to 5 and they're able to leave their business at work and they're able to be themselves at home. That is definitely something that's applicable to baseball. You can't let the results affect who you are off the field, just because you'll kind of go down a windy road mentally since it's such a long year.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to get into that part as well. As I happened to look at your Instagram feed and your post saying goodbye to 2025. Seems like you were able to do a little bit of traveling over the past 12 months or so. When you look back on it, any favorite places or any favorite moments from the past year when it comes to the off the field stuff and being able to see some different parts of not just North America, but it seems like you've been able to travel the world a little bit too.
That's definitely something that I've got into this year, and like I said, it's created a lot of joy for me off the field. There's times in my career where, if you're going through a tough stretch, you kind of feel it personally, and you almost degrade yourself as a human being, and that's just not the truth. And I'm super thankful to be able to be young still and be able to travel. Every year on my way down to spring training, I kind of make a little trip out of it. I'll drive down and stop at certain areas and stuff like that. And last year I stopped in southern Utah and did some hiking around some national parks, and that was definitely a highlight of my year. That was something that kind of really got me into traveling and kind of seeing the world and other things, because at the end of the day, I've been playing baseball for my whole life, and especially the last 7 or 8 years, that's kind of become your identity, and you lose the fact that sometimes that you're a human being and you need to be able to enjoy yourself. And I definitely feel like that separation of baseball and life is extremely important. And if you don't do that, it's gonna wear on you, not only physically but mentally. And I definitely felt like I took that step in the right direction of that this year.
How cool has that been to maybe have that introspection a little bit, and to maybe to be able to go be where your feet are at, almost to a certain extent. It's like, okay, I'm in this town or I'm on this road trip or whatever, and hey, not everybody gets a chance to see this part of the U.S. or this part of the world.
100%. And one thing that you kind of get to learn too as you climb the ranks is you play with some guys who are older and they have some families and they got little kids, and you kind of see them and be like, all right, like, this is what you're doing it for. You're extremely lucky to play this game and for as long as you can. Not many people can do that. And now I'm playing with guys who have wives, who have kids, and seeing them being able to share this experience with them is something special. And like I said, it's just something that I kind of want to do for as long as I can. And if my body's going to let me do it, I'll keep doing it.
Has there been anybody in the Angels system that has really been able to kind of push you in that direction? Is there anybody that you look to and go, yeah, they've been a real positive influence in maybe turning that mental side around for you?
I definitely think I'm not going to name one person here just because there's so many, but it's interesting. Every spring training, you'll sign older guys. They'll play in AAA or be up in the big leagues, back and forth or whatever, and you kind of get to know them a little bit, or they might be in AA, and just kind of seeing their stories and their paths is awesome to watch and awesome to listen from. Every year you get a new group of guys that come in and share that experience, and being able to listen to them is something special. And hopefully I can get to the point where I'm that guy one day where I've played 7-8 years of professional baseball and have some big league time, and you kind of able to give back to the younger guys. There's guys who I've shared locker rooms with, who I've watched in the big leagues and be like, all right, he's a pretty good player, and next thing you know, you're sitting next to him in the locker room.
Absolutely. You mentioned the fact that you look forward to that day when you get to be that guy that can kind of impart wisdom on them, but you're doing that now back here at home. This is about, I think you were saying off air, the fourth year maybe that you've been working with the guys over at St. Joe's and Jason Chatwood and company. How cool has that been to be able to give back to the game in your home province and show them that there is a genuine path to pro baseball or college baseball or whatever their dreams may be?
Yeah, it's a good time, especially over Christmas now too, or the winter break. You have the guys who used to be in the high school program that went off to college, and they come back during this time, and you get to see familiar faces and see how these guys have changed, not only physically but mature wise. That's kind of the reason why you do it. The experience that I got to have in college is priceless. I got to travel all over the place, got to meet so many amazing people and experience so many different things. And you just hope that one day that you're giving back to the people that gave to you, essentially. And what I mean by that is if you change one kid's career, you helped one kid out, or you helped them figure something out off the field, that's worthwhile at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Speaking of, has there been a key theme that you've been trying to drive home this year for the kids? I know last time you and I chatted, you mentioned the fact that every kid is different, but has there been something that maybe a theme that you're starting to hear as you go about and chat with some of these young guys and give them or gals and giving them the tips of the trade?
I definitely think that the older you get, like I said, you get to experience more things, not only on the field but off the field, and being able to separate those two and be able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, this is who I am, not only as a baseball player but as a human being. That's extremely valuable because, like I said, I've gone down a path where I played so much baseball, I've done it all, that I wasn't Matt Coutney as a human being. I was Matt Coutney as a baseball player, and that's how I thought people viewed me. But at the end of the day, all these kids, they have their own path, whether it's with baseball or without baseball in the future, that, you're hopefully teaching them some skills and some life lessons down the road that they'll be able to lean on.
Looking back on the last couple of years since we last chatted, what are you most proud of? Maybe it's just the journey as a whole, but as you've been able to be a little bit more introspective and a little bit more where your feet are at, what's kind of stood out to you as being that thing that's made you go, man, I've been able to do some good things, and I'm really proud of myself for being able to do that?
You know what? I remember, growing up in Wetaskiwin, small town, not too many people even played baseball here. I remember going to high school and saying that, I'm going to go play junior college baseball in Kansas, and people kind of looked at me crazy. And, that would have been, 8 or 9 years ago now. And to look back at the path and the journey and all the places that I've gone to, all the people that I've met, I still keep in touch with a lot of people that I've played with over the years. And, the memories that you've created, the times that you got to share with other people's. And, for example, now I'm starting to get wedding invitations to different weddings of guys that I've played with in the past. And, the older you get, the more that you start to realize, like, this is what you do it for, be able to see people and understand their path and see how they've grown up and seen what they've done and what they've turned into is probably at the end of the day the most important thing.
Absolutely. Looking at the scene now, and we've been talking a lot about growth in this province, and we're getting back into the point of almost like 20,000 kids playing baseball in this province. And you think about the boost that the Jays are going to give them, and the boost that guys like you give to kids who might be multi-sport and are like, hey, maybe baseball's a dream. How cool is that from your perspective, getting to see the game grow like it has been, but from a guy who lived it and went through the processes and aches and pains of growing up in Alberta?
It's awesome to see that because, you learn a lot of skills, not only in baseball, but in sports in general that, translate to your life. I remember when I was in college, they would talk a lot of the time that, these businesses would hire ex-athletes because they have all these awesome traits that they're looking for, hard work, discipline, time management, communication skills. And at the end of the day, that's, what you're developing in these guys. Sure, you're going up there trying to teach them how to, hit a ball, but at the end of the day, you want them to be able to learn, problem solving skills, and you're going to throw them in different situations. I hope they figure it out on their own. And to see the game grow like that in a province like Alberta is awesome. It's definitely awesome to see that because, baseball isn't always on the front of people's minds. And I definitely think seeing the Jays and the success they've had this past year and going into the offseason they had this year with all the different signings, I definitely think it's, great for the sport in Canada as a whole.
Absolutely. Final question for you here, Matt. And it ties back into that Canadian thing for a minute, and also a tie into the question I usually ask, but I've asked you it enough times. What's it mean to you to be able to continue playing professional baseball as a Canadian?
It means a lot. You definitely see all these other guys that you played with, their careers come to an end, and I'm extremely thankful to still be playing. I believe, don't quote me on this, but the average minor league career is about 2 years long. And like I said, I played for 4 years, and, careers are getting shorter and shorter every year. They're cutting more levels every year, or all just over the years. You never know what's going to happen with the next CBA, what happens with minor leaguers and professional baseball as a whole. And being able to say, yeah, I've not only played professional baseball, but I've got to, play a good amount and hopefully, plenty more to come. That means a lot just because at the end of the day, when I'm, 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, this is something I can, hang my hat on. And I've learned a lot over the years. Like I said, all those different skills and traits you kind of learn, through all the different failures and all the different success that you have. So yeah, that's definitely something that, I'll be extremely proud of for the rest of my life.
Well, it's been fantastic to watch the journey unfold. And as you mentioned, looking forward to seeing what the next steps are and what's next for Matt Coutney. Congratulations again, Matt, on an outstanding last couple of seasons. Continued success as we head towards the 2026 season and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show as always.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Up next is Regina's Thomas Ireland, a 13th round pick of the Texas Rangers in 2021. The Martin Academy and Baseball Sask alum has been quietly ascending up the team's depth charts in the last couple of seasons. 2025 in particular might have been a breakout year for Ireland as he went 8-2 with a 3.10 ERA and 27 appearances, also spread across 3 levels, including 3 games with the AA Frisco Rough Riders. We caught up recently to talk about his journey in the game, getting drafted, and what's to come in 2026. Thomas, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Coming off a solid 2025 split between 3 levels in the Texas system, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. So I'm curious, from your standpoint, how are you feeling about the year you had?
Honestly, really good. I felt really good like all year. Body made some changes in the off season last year that kind of put me in a spot to be where I'm at now. So I think just making those small little changes really made a big difference in my season. Obviously going into 2026, just looking to kind of do a little bit of the same and just try and keep on a roll and keep climbing levels.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything in particular that you felt was really working for you, or was there one sort of minor adjustment or change where it was like that the light bulb went on and you were like, okay, now we're rolling?
Honestly, I think think it was just kind of finding that confidence again. I mean, obviously, like 2024 was kind of a bit of a tough year for me. Just kind of going through some struggles in that year. So I think 2025, I think it was just, you know what, like we can't be too high and can't be too low. We gotta stay not neutral, but you gotta enjoy the highs when they come, but you also gotta learn from the lows when they eventually come. And obviously with this game, it's for majority of the time that's what it is, right? It's a game based on failure. So just trying to find the I guess kind of trying to find that middle ground of like, all right, this is what's working, this is what's not. So let's find a way to iron out some of those negativities. And I think that was probably the biggest thing. And just going out there and just knowing who I am out there was a big thing. So just finding that confidence and being who I am and how I know how to pitch. And I think those are the two biggest things that stayed the most consistent throughout the year for me. And like I said earlier, just trying to keep that going into 26. So.
Looking back on it, I liked asking this question to guys who go between levels a couple of times during the course of a year. Is it tough to navigate those differences, especially from not just from a playing perspective, but also from that, hey, you don't know from day to day whether or not you're going to be in the same town or if you're hitching a flight somewhere?
I mean, a little bit, yeah. I mean, obviously that's the minor league grind, right? That's the kind of the lifestyle. You don't really know where you're going to be in a couple of days, let alone a week. So, I guess for me, it was just, you know what, it's the same game, going from low A up to double A this year and high A in between there. It's the same game at the end of the day. You're throwing the ball 60 feet 6 inches. The plate is still 17 inches across. The base paths are still 90 feet, right? So, I think going into each level with that mentality really kind of helped me ease into kind of what each level brought, especially like going from low A to double A. Like many people might not think there is a big difference, but there's a ton of differences, and the guys that can figure it out quick and make that adjustment are the guys that stay there and the guys that are successful at those levels, right? So, yeah, I think just going in there with that mentality was probably the biggest thing. And obviously it gives nerve wracking a little bit too, going up each level. Playing with some guys you haven't necessarily known a lot or played with a ton. So there's that aspect too. And, you're playing with new teammates, but new coaches, right? New teams. As you go up, right, the competition gets a little bit better, a little bit more difficult, right? So, but I think for anybody that plays at those levels, the one constant is they have a good routine and they have a good mindset going in day to day. So I think that's one thing I tried to replicate.
Mm-hmm. When you look back on the year you had, any highlights or times where you had to take that step back almost and go, okay, this is pretty cool?
Honestly, like playing the final game of the year, the final game that I pitched in Double A Frisco there, that was pretty cool. I mean, I've obviously been around a lot of guys that have played a good amount of baseball in that park, and just kind of hearing their thoughts and feelings on it, and it's probably the top 3 easy atmospheres in the Texas League, maybe in most of Double A ball for some, but just hearing like how great the fans are and what a great area you're in, and obviously the competition is really good. So a lot of positives going in. So when I finally got the chance to pitch there, that was kind of surreal. And when I walked out there and stepped on the mound, it was like, all right, like we've kind of had the chance to soak it in, but now it's time to work. And a lot of what people said to me about it was true. And it is a great atmosphere and the fans are amazing. So it's just a fun ballpark to be in. It's hard to not have a smile on your face when you walk into that ballpark each and every day.
Absolutely. You go through the off season, or you go through the postseason meetings and that kind of thing. What are you working on? What do the coaches tell you to get on when the off season gets going, so you can get yourself into that best position possible heading into the new year?
I mean, I think coming off of a good year like this, it's one of those things where you try not to change up too much, right? If like everybody says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So, I think it's kind of been an off season of that, of like, okay, like, let's try and refine some smaller things, right? So, for me, it's just been getting comfortable with my sinker. Last 2025 was the first year I kind of started throwing it, and so got comfortable with it pretty quickly, which is nice to add that to the arsenal pretty quickly and be able to show something that not a lot of guys have seen from me. So I think that was great. But I think coming into this off season, that's what can we do to take this season we just had to the next level, and I think just refining small things is one of the biggest things a guy can do, right? Some guys, they just change too much, and then they go into the season and feel a little bit awkward, and it might take a little while to get that feeling back. So for me, it was like, let's just keep rolling, let's keep having a good time, but just refine some small things, just keep working on the sinker, keep working on having a consistent delivery down the mound. How can we, like, kind of stuff like that? Like, how can we maybe sit back a little bit longer, maybe crunch out 1-2 miles an hour more, something like that, and just what puts me in the best position to stay healthy at the end of the day for the course of the season. It's a long season, so. But yeah, just those small things I think are really play a big pivotal part that not a lot of guys see come July, August, and September, when you kind of get into those dog days of the summer, right?
Mm-hmm. Now that you've pitched at Double-A and had a pretty successful run there, have you allowed yourself to start thinking a little bit about what's next? And everybody talks about the fact that once you get up to Triple-A, it's a matter of waiting and seeing what's good. Have you thought about yourself as maybe being a big leaguer in the next couple of years here?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard not to think about, especially when coming off a good season, going from low A to Double-A. It does really put the question mark in your head of like, okay, I've made it this far, but kind of when. But it's not something I really try to think about too much. I try to just be present in the moment and each day, and be grateful for each day that I'm able to stay healthy and stay on the field with my friends and my teammates and coaches and stuff like that. So it obviously it gets into the mind a little bit, right? Like it's hard not to think about, but for me it's just about like my time will come, and the only way my time will come is if I keep doing what I need to do, and being consistent, in the weight room, being consistent in the training room, and staying healthy, and doing what I need to be to be a successful pitcher. And once that time comes, I'll be ready for it.
Fantastic stuff. I love getting into the baseball background stories. So originally from Regina, how do you get into baseball in the first place?
Yeah. I mean, obviously being from Saskatchewan and Regina, it's not a big baseball area to begin with, but my parents both played sports, and my dad played a lot of ball, and my mom played softball, and like stuff like that during high school. And my dad went down to Dickinson State College in North Dakota for a year there, and did a year of baseball there, and then just kind of got injured, and just his time was kind of done. So but yeah, that was kind of really the start is my parents always were supportive of what I wanted to do, no matter what sport it was. But I was always just really drawn to baseball. I remember being young and watching the 2009 World Series with my dad. And we both grew up Yankees fans, so I remember that one was special for us to watch together. And so it's always just kind of been baseball. I did a few little like basketball and volleyball throughout elementary school and a tiny bit in high school, but the attention's always been baseball. In the winter, it's always been baseball training. In the summer, it's always been all right. We're doing ball. So never did get into the hockey like most people suspect. But no, I've been very grateful to have two parents that love watching me play, and you just see the amount of passion that they put into helping me, kind of live my dreams and reach them at the same time. So
Very cool. Whose poster was up on the wall when you were a kid?
Jeter, definitely Jeter. I'm not the biggest guy by no means, and I mean he wasn't really the biggest guy by any means either on the field, but I think the reason why I was so drawn to him as a player and a few other guys is just their leadership capability, right? Like there's not many guys that get the nickname the captain, and just seeing like kind of what he came from and came to be is just really inspiring. And I think that's kind of what inspired me, because obviously being from Regina and being from Saskatchewan, we don't get that exposure for baseball like a lot of other places do. So just having him up on the wall is just kind of a daily reminder of like just keep going, and everything kind of takes shape and has its place in the right times. So that's always been really good.
Was there a moment for you where it kind of flipped from, hey, I really like this game, to, hey, I'm pretty good at this game and maybe I should chase it for a while?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of honestly been that way since I was young, like since I started baseball. From the, first memory I have of playing baseball to where I'm at now, like honestly, my mindset hasn't really changed. I've always wanted to be a professional baseball player, and now that I am doing it, it's just a matter of how do I keep doing it, right? But I would say it was that switch kind of flipped from a very early age, and I think my parents were really instrumental in helping that match kind of burn brightly in my mind and what I wanted to do. So, and like I said earlier, they were super supportive. They've never they've never been like, are you sure? Like they've been supportive from the time I first said it to currently right now. So it's one of those things that's like it's special, because it's not something that a lot of people can have the opportunity to do, right? Like it's a tough kind of lifestyle, right? Like your summers are kind of spent at the field, and you're buying gear and all that, and the fees for teams and for jerseys and all that. So to have both of them in my corner, and to have the belief in me to stick with it and take it as far as I have so far, just really kind of shows that in my mind that they're in it. They're in it for the long run, and they have been in it for some time. So
absolutely, that is awesome. Looking back on the young career, do you have a favorite moment or memory that stands out to you where you had to take that step back and go, Oh man, this is fantastic. This is what I want to do the rest of my life.
Uh, honestly, is I think for me it was like just playing catch in the backyard with my dad. Uh, even as I got older, it was just one of those things that was extremely special. And um, I think for me, it like baseball. He was diehard into baseball like how I am, and so um, I think when he got injured and had to ultimately kind of give up baseball, it was really tough for him. And I know I've talked with him about kind of that journey of what he kind of felt and kind of went through at that time. And um, I think just being able to play catch with him was one of those things of like I want to be able to take this as um, far as I can, not only for myself because it's something I really enjoy doing and love doing and want to do for as long as I can, but just kind of keep his legacy going, right? Like he spent a lot of time and um, didn't always really have the most coaching and all that, and so for me to be able to put on the jersey and throw on the cleats and throw on the glove and step on that mound, just kind of not only do it for my whole family, but just know like to that it a little bit of him is with me as well on that mound. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for me.
That is fantastic. Take us back to draft day. Where were you? Who were you with? And what goes through your mind when you see your name on the board?
Yeah, I was actually at home. Just got back a couple months after the college season, and was sitting on the couch just kind of listening to it. And I was with my dad. My mom, unfortunately, she couldn't get out of work, so she didn't see it. But we kind of sneakily had her still in the loop there. So, and then I was with my girlfriend, who is now my wife, and we were just sitting there, and all of a sudden I get a text from my agent that says congrats. And I was kind of confused because I hadn't heard anything yet. And then I thought maybe he just sent it to a different, or meant to send it to a different guy. So I didn't really think anything of it at first. And then I hear my name come over the screen there, and it's just it felt like a relief kind of in a way, but also just an absolute dream come true. So it was really cool to have my dad there and my wife, and just kind of wish my mom was able to be in the room too. But it didn't take us very long to to have her on the phone and all that. So, but no, it was really great, and just it's one of those things. It's nice not having like 1,000 people behind me.
Yeah.
But it was just nice in the way that it was kind of just us and intimate, and really the closest people around me were the ones that were there, right? So.
For sure. I couldn't help but notice this September you were with your family helping out North Regina Little League with cleanup. So still obviously very close to your roots back home. What's that mean to you to be able to give back to the baseball community back home with stuff like that, or even just chatting with the kids as you're passing by and giving them some advice on what you've learned over your years?
I mean that's everything, right? I mean I grew up playing North Regina Little League and had a lot of great memories there, and to see it kind of now and how it's evolved is kind of striking. Like they got scoreboards up, and they got people doing. They practically got TrackMan out there now, I'm sure. So just to kind of see the way it's evolved from when I had my time there, it's really great to see that it's still growing and still evolving, and so many kids are taking up baseball, and just to interact with some of the kids and make them feel heard in in what they want to do and all that. That's exactly what I wish I had a little bit more at my age. So giving back for me is like great. Like I'm proud to be from where I'm at, and it's definitely something I don't forget. And to go back there and just kind of remember some of the games and some of the memories there, and to see how small now that the fields feel, it makes me feel kind of old, but it's a great feeling at the same time, because what they're doing over there just goes to show that baseball in Saskatchewan and Regina especially is evolving, and I think it's going to be something great for years to come. And it's something I can't wait to see.
Absolutely. How cool is it to have a homegrown hero banner right beside Dustin Mulliken?
I couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, I trained with Dusty in the off season, and he's a tremendous human being. I have nothing but great things to say about Dusty, him and his family, and the amount of support he's given me the last couple of years training with him in the off season, and just being able to pick his brain and go to him with, just stuff throughout the season and concerns, and just know that he understands, and understands the grind and kind of what happens, and just to know that he went through it as well as so he kind of knows where I'm coming from, right? So but yeah, I mean, to have a homegrown hero banner next to him is great, and hope to have a few other ones up beside us in the future. So that'd be great to see. But no, I love seeing that next to Dusty. It's an honor to be put up beside him, and especially with all the accomplishments he's had. So.
Mm-hmm. Couple more for you here, Thomas, before we let you go. First off, for those young kids that you get to see when you're back here at home, or maybe you're out and about at the local ball diamonds down south, and they're looking to you for advice. They want to be where you're at now. What kinds of words of wisdom would you love to impart upon them?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It might sound like a broken record, but it's just one. If you have that dream to play professional baseball, just do what you need to do to be able to live that dream, and work your butt off to get there, because it's a long, grueling, grinding lifestyle, and when you get there, it definitely it feels great, but it's obviously not the end goal. So it's just one of those things. It's like, if you have that dream, just don't let anybody tell you it's not feasible. The only one that can tell you it's not doable is yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that drive and that want to do something that's, maybe a little bit out of the norm for where we come from, then there's nothing wrong with that. I remember kind of hearing all the chatter of like, oh, it's not doable, but I mean, it is. So I'd say that's the ultimate thing, is just work your butt off and turn it from a dream to reality, and do what you got to do that.
Well, you've certainly done that in spades already, Thomas. Final question for you. It's one we ask everybody here on the show. What's the game of baseball mean to you?
Everything. It's my life. I live, breathe, and die on baseball. It's been a part of my life as long as I can remember, and it will be something that is with me till I take my last breath, and even after that, I don't think it'll go away. But no, it's to me, it's the ultimate game. It's everything. The grind, the long summer nights, all that. It's all worth it in the end for me, and I just hope to be able to do it as long as I can and be successful while doing it.
Well, we hope so too there, Thomas. Again, congratulations on all the success you've had to this point. Continued success with the Rangers this season and beyond. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Matt Coutney and Thomas Ireland for joining us this week, and thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. As mentioned, next week is a big one with the Baseball Canada World Baseball Classic roster to be locked in and the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame Class of 2026 to be unveiled, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of the action. As always, a tip of the cap to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for their generosity in helping us tell the game stories in our province. For more on our tremendous teammates, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.